Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. So, the Game Awards is set for tonight, and people are really hyping up this showcase for some must-see announcements. I keep hearing that it's going to be better than past years, and I also keep hearing that Xbox fans specifically will want to tune in for some kind of cool announcement. I mean, we'll see if there's any truth to that or not, but I do hope that everybody enjoys the Game Awards. Today, though, what we're going to be talking about is the relationship between Sony and Bungie. Despite Sony acquiring them with the idea that they will be an independent studio, Bungie is now apparently fearing that they will lose their independence. Yeah, this is a whole weird situation that I'm not really sure if anybody necessarily wins in this scenario. Then also, GTA 6 has been threatened by being banned. Talk about weird. Some people are just absolutely clueless. But with that said, let's just go and get right into things, starting off with a delay. Not exactly what you want to hear the day of the Game Awards. Hopefully this will be the only deflating news. But the Alone in the Dark remake will be delayed once again. You can see THQ Nordic's press release here, which states, "The year is coming to an end, and the Christmas holidays are upon us. However, until today, it didn't seem that way for Pieces Interactive, the team developing our upcoming survival horror game, Alone in the Dark. With our initially planned release date in January 2024, the Christmas season would have been filled with stress and anything but jolly time for them. Therefore, THQ Nordic and Pieces Interactive have decided to give Alone in the Dark a new release date, March 20th of 2024. Now, I have no issue with this delay at all. I think most of you all have come to know how I feel about delays, and this is really across the board. I would rather them just have a good, smooth launch, which in my opinion is better for both developers and fans alike. Nobody really wins when a game is a rushed, buggy mess, and I mean, we've even seen some games completely fail in part because of their launch issues. So I do think that this is a smart decision by THQ Nordic, but this does also bring up a rather weird question. See, it was just a couple months back when THQ Nordic said that they delayed Alone in the Dark because October was too packed with big games, which, I mean, I do agree with that. But this latest statement here does kind of contradict their previous one. I don't know, it doesn't really bother me or anything, but it does kind of sound like the big issue here has always been, it's just not ready. And hey, that's perfectly okay. Just be honest about things, and hopefully, you know, these delays will help deliver a better end result. Again, its new release date is March 20th of 2024. Now, here's something really interesting for fans of the long-running Mana series. I know a lot of fans do consider The Secret of Mana to be one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, and Square Enix, they have slowly been bringing these games back to the forefront. Of course, they released the Mana Collection this generation, and they also had the Trials of Mana remake, which they released that back in 2020. Well, it sounds like that might just be the beginning, because a new trademark was just uncovered titled Visions of Mana. Not only did Gematsu spot that trademarks were filed in Europe, Australia, and in Japan, but they also noted that they recently heard that a new entry in the Mana series titled Visions of Mana is currently in development. So there's a lot of evidence that this is going to happen. It's really just a matter of when and where they'll announce it. I mean, I guess technically it could happen at the Game Awards, but if not, for all of you Mana fans out there, perk up, because a new entry does appear to be on the way. Okay, so let's go talk about this Bungie situation, though. I think that we all kind of understand that Bungie has not exactly been performing up to their expectations. Ever since Sony acquired them, they've really struggled. They recently laid off a big portion of their staff, and they also delayed the upcoming DLC expansion out of their fiscal year, which that does impact Sony's short-term results. So, you know, a lot is riding on this specific DLC expansion, and even more so now, because according to new reports, it's starting to hit a boiling point between the two. Bungie's current independence might rely on that upcoming expansion and whether or not it can deliver on those expectations. This was posted up by IGN, who got some inside information, and you can see here that it says, Bungie devs say atmosphere is soul-crushing amid layoffs, cuts, and fear of total Sony takeover. And it's that last line there that everybody is looking at. Right now, despite the acquisition, Bungie still remains independent, but this does suggest that that might not always be the case, and I think that this kind of better sums up the situation. They continue on to say that if Bungie falls short of certain financial thresholds by too great of an amount, Sony is allowed to dissolve the existing board and take full control of the company. And with Destiny 2 expansion, the final shape delayed into the next fiscal year, and Bungie still investing heavily in Marathon, many employees understand that Bungie is struggling to meet the necessary targets to keep its last vestige of freedom. Such a takeover wouldn't necessarily be shocking given its 2022 acquisition, but it would nevertheless be a stunning development for a company that has historically prided itself on its independence. See, there's really two different sides to this situation. See, on one side, you have Bungie, which sold their studio to Sony, thinking that they can keep their independence. That was one of the main reasons they were willing to be purchased in the first place. They can still make the games they want for the platforms that they want in exchange to give Sony a constant stream of live service money, all while overseeing Sony's other live service projects. As we all know, for better or worse, live service is a big focus for Sony right now, and Bungie, more or less, is being paid to spearhead that charge. Unfortunately, though, Bungie isn't really having the success that they were expected to have, and Sony's looking at that and they're telling themselves, we purchased you for $3.6 billion, so we need you to perform up to our expectations. Just because you have independence doesn't mean that you're free to do whatever you want with said money. You still have to perform. Now, we as fans can debate on whether or not Bungie was actually worth that amount. I know there's a lot of debate around that, but the fact is, that's what they paid, and it's a big-time investment for them. It is the single biggest game studio acquisition that Sony has ever made. So again, they're looking at the problem that Bungie's facing right now, and they're telling them, if you can't get this fixed, we'll do it for you. We'll put our own people in charge and go from there, which honestly is, that's kind of a bizarre situation. Like I just said, the big thing that Sony was paying for was this idea that Bungie will oversee and teach all of their other studios how to have success in the live service space. But Bungie themselves isn't having success. And if Sony takes charge, then where exactly does that leave that initiative? I mean, yeah, okay, Bungie still has a lot of staff that can help other studios. That probably isn't going to change anytime soon, but Sony would be leading the charge again, which is kind of an ironic outcome considering that's not what they acquired Bungie for. Bungie was there to help teach Sony how to make multiplayer games, but now it's being turned around where Sony has to teach Bungie how to manage their studio. So it's just this whole weird situation, and I don't think that there's really a winner here. From the sounds of it, Bungie, they've lost morale as their employees face layoffs and pressure to keep the studio independent. And then Sony, they're not really getting what they want out of this acquisition either. They paid a lot of money for them, and I think for me, this whole situation just makes it even more evident that live service games are risky. One theme that we have seen this year for live service titles is, even some of the most successful games will eventually see some slowdown, and that is something that we are seeing here with Destiny 2. It is falling into that same category where it is now struggling instead of giving them that constant success that they were initially hoping for. Now, I do kind of wonder, though, just hypothetically, if Sony does take full control of Bungie down the road, will they still release their games as multi-platform titles, or will they instead pivot to more of an exclusive approach with future games? Now, I do imagine that Destiny will continue to be everywhere as long as they make more content for that game. Probably Marathon as well. I believe that they've already announced all of its platforms. But as we're seeing with other PlayStation live service games, they're sticking with PC and PlayStation, maybe mobile in the future as well. So that is something to keep an eye on as well later down the road. Now, I have heard some conspiracy theories online that Sony wanted Bungie to fail so they could ultimately take over themselves for this exact reason, but I don't believe that at all. You don't pay $3.6 billion in the hope that something will fail. The reason that this was written in the contract was probably to protect themselves, but yeah, this is definitely a bad situation. I mean, we'll see what happens though. A lot is riding on that next expansion, The Final Shape, when it releases next year in June. Now, we do have one other game to talk about, being GTA 6, because just wow. All right, so apparently some people on the internet is calling for a Grand Theft Auto 6 ban. This was brought up by Jackson Hinkle, who posted this over on Twitter. Where are the Zionists at Rockstar Games releasing the sexualized video game for children in America? Get hashtag ban GTA 6 trending right now. So This has 7.5 million views and 30,000 likes, which is this is actually hysterical. I mean, I must not know much about games at all because I wasn't aware that GTA was actually made for kids. That's news to me. I mean, I personally thought it was advertised as a mature rated game. In fact, they do have a big M-rated label right in front of the package to warn parents not to buy it for their kids, or at the bare minimum, buy it under your own discretion. See, we do actually have ways of preventing exactly what he's trying to claim here. I'm just going to throw that out there. But on all, this is not a surprising tweet. Games like GTA and Mortal Kombat have always drawn a lot of attention from the media who knows nothing about games, and that's pretty much what's happening here. The GTA 6 trailer has blown up. It's already gotten more than 100 million views online, and it caught the attention of non-gamers as well who are simply clueless about these subjects. The only thing for me, though, is when I hear these people who don't know much about games talk about topics like this, they're always so hypocritical. I mean, I guess we're going to go and get mad at video games for having sexualized content, but we're also going to ignore practically every big budget mainstream movie which has suggestive scenes, to say the least, at some point or another. It is what it is, but I guess hashtag ban GTA 6 was trending online, though I think some of that is just because people are mocking this entire thing. At the end of the day, though, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen here. People like Mr. Hinkle will put their angry pants on in the morning, and they're going to type some angry words on social media, the echo chamber that it is. They're going to make a big fuss, which will amount to absolutely nothing, just as most topics do on social media, and GTA 6 will, in fact, not get banned. It will go on to release, and it will go on to break records. So there is your not-so-hard crystal ball vision for you. We can all just kind of move on from this silliness because that's exactly what it is. It's simply silliness. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all to predict the Game of the Year winner at the Game Awards, and the vast majority of you all are expecting Baldur's Gate 3 to leave with the win. Now, I'm actually in complete agreement here. People love this game, and it's already being viewed as an all-time great RPG. It's also commercially a major success, so it really just has everything going for it, and I have to say, if it does win during the same year that games like a new Spider-Man, Zelda, and a new Mario all released, that is pretty impressive. I mean, you have to remember that not even Larian Studios expected the success that they've had with Baldur's Gate 3. So to go in with that type of expectation and then to possibly come away winning the Game of the Year in one of the best years ever for gaming, that is nothing short of impressive. Let's just go and find out what happens, though, and for that matter, everybody, enjoy the Game Awards. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.